Now you did an incredible piece as well on violence and aggression in video games, and you distinguished beautifully using Splatoon. And for people who don't know it, I'll let you sort of explain, your 20-second nutshell theory here.
Sure. So I sort of began to realize when I played Splatoon, a multiplayer game featuring paint rollers and paintbrushes, that I was becoming incredibly agitated, like my days back playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. It was making me angry. I was swearing at my friends and stuff like that. They couldn't hear me, but swearing at the screen. It was getting me really worked up. And I thought, this isn't right for me to get this upset over a game. But gee, I wonder what someone would look like if they saw me playing it. Probably, video games cause violence. And I thought, well, it's not really the video game. It's the feature of highly competitive events. It's not violence at all. It's not, Splatoon doesn't feature blood. It doesn't even feature red paint. It's not violence. It is how competitive it is that just made my blood boil. So, yeah, I wanted to address that because I felt a lot of people still think violence in video games causes violence, but not with me.
Well, science has shown there's no correlation between video games and violence. There is a correlation between aggression. And I think that short-term aggression, precisely like the kind you've described, and I think every gamer on the planet went, duh. It was just like, well, of course, when you're losing, it sucks. And that's, pretty much what you said. So, the thing about Splatoon is it's a deceptively complex game. Like, when you think of with the number of different mechanics with that the swimming in ink, that's the thing that makes me rage.
It's great.
Yeah,
it's like, I read this somewhere. Sorry, breaking up?
No, go ahead.
It was lagging low. I read this somewhere, but I thought it was great. Great way to summarize Splatoon. Nintendo has made the crouch, the reload, and the sprint feature one key, which is when you swim through the ink. You reload your ink gauge, you're sprinting, you're going faster, and you're crouching. You're below you, they can't see you. And it's just amazing. That's one of the best gameplay aspects I've seen in a really long time. One of the top 3 best features you could possibly have. I thought that was so creative. It's really, really good. It is a complex game, but it's so easy to pick up and fun. Nintendo just knocked it out of the park with Splatoon. It's great. I'm glad to see that people love it and so successful.
Yeah, I'm glad it was as good as it previewed. I think that's a major difference between the games from the Wii and the Wii U is Nintendo is pivoting back towards that action gaming. Even Nintendo Land, that Luigi's Mansion mini game, you get my family over here. My sister is out for blood as the ghost. She goes immediately for fiance, and we know at this point that just camp near my sister's fiance because she's gonna go to, and that those are sort of the gamer stories that if you do it, you get it. If you don't do it, why aren't you? Is where I'm at. Do you have a lot of friends who are gamers, or are you sort of unique among your social circle?
No, the majority of my friends in person from my history schools, colleges, whatever, they're not really involved in video games. All of my friends that share my gaming interests are people I've met online, but I've known them for going on like 5 years now, some of them. So, yeah, I have a really good core group of friends who love video games online, and it's just great being able to talk about it, play games with people who have the same sort of stories and interests and are wanting the same sort of things out of it that you are. So, how about you? You have a lot of gaming friends, or is it?
None. My best friend has started playing Destiny.
Okay.
But for me, it's my friends' kids who I get. My kid is playing this game, or my kid wants to play this game. I don't. It's similar to you. I sort of feel many of my real life friends are. It's like high school. You have friends because you're all in the same place together, and it's a survival tactic that, if I was playing Vampire the Masquerade as a teenager, I know that's okay, you get the reference. It's like, I think that's where one of my Vampire the Masquerade characters came from, quite frankly. This guy who, don't hurt me, I'll do whatever you want. Toreador, but it was that
good.
whole idea that high school is survival and you sort of find people who can strengthen your position in the real world. But online, it's, you like this game, I like this game. It's not just a common interest, it's how you engage with that common interest as well. And I think that can create some very powerful friendships because it's not just what you like, it's how you interact with it as well. You have to have the same play style, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, do you have that asshole gamer friend who they're a great person until they start playing?
No, kind of the opposite way.
Really?
Really nice guy when we're playing a game together. As soon as the game's off, just, turns into a good old jerk. But, yeah, so, I don't want to say, I'm the person that can take the competitive match too seriously. I've done it in the past. I've rage quit. I never take it out on my friends, but, yeah, sometimes it's you have to remember you're playing with a group of people. You're not playing for number one high score. You're playing for camaraderie. It's your version of hanging out across the world. So yeah, in the past I would say I probably was that person, but I've gotten better. So
yeah, I completely agree with you regarding your philosophy towards multiplayer, and that's why I don't play multiplayer a lot. I guess because it's elite gamer, I've been gaming so long and I play games so much that my social is must win, must get good.
Yeah, I know.
And, I tried to get back into Gears of War multiplayer, and I think the multiplayer is incredibly well designed, but I like things like Team Deathmatch or the Capture the Flag, those co-op competitive. Give me co-op any day of the week. Don't, there are some that it's just, the Warzone type thing where it's every person for themselves and just blowing.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm doing enough in those games. Yeah. I love that experience of helping other players and scouting and saying, hey, he's over there. Okay, guys, how are we going to do this? It's that teamwork that I really enjoy. And it's I get well, you're a girl. Of course you like teamwork. I'm like, that's where I get aggressive. It's it's not that, because if it was just a girl thing, then they wouldn't put them into shooters like Call of Duty. And because, there's a lot of women. I think it's 25% of Call of Duty's player base, or Halo, or one of those is female.
I believe that.
It's quite high.
The most females I've come across in the wilds of multiplayer lobbies have been in Call of Duty. And I'd say 4 out of 5 times, they're really cool. I get that one that was she sent me a message 1v1 me right now, go home, you're fake, I'm better than you. I'm like, please, just simmer down, okay? We don't all need to be number one.
See, that's what I'm sure people get on me about the statistic. I violated the cardinal rule. I cited a statistic that I don't have a say. It's high, okay, guys? It's high. I'm not saying it's definitely that.
You don't care about specifics here.
Yeah, there you go. It's ish. It's ish. But
yeah.
There's an element that you touched on there of this sort of female competitiveness that leaks into games. It's we all of a sudden become Highlanders and there can only be one. We're trying to cut off the other Highlanders' heads so we can, it's like Thunderdome, 2 go in, 1 come. And that just is so stupid to me. It sounds like you encountered this with that person. Is that what you
Yeah, I have. And I don't think it probably happens in, I would say, some of the worst proponents of the whole you're a fake gamer girl can be other girls, because I can understand if someone grew up, was picked on, nerdy, geeky, she played video games, always an outcast, and then when, using voice chat in multiplayer games became a thing, and she sort of elevated, oh my gosh, it's a girl, she likes the same things as me, let me give her attention. And then another girl comes along and she sees that girl as only wanting to play the game for attention or whatnot, then I can sort of, I guess, see why that might cause some friction. But women can be naturally catty towards each other, right? Like you said, that whole, like, there can only be one. I think it may not be exclusive to just video games when there's two catty girls that meet, but...
Oh, so not. So not. I mean, it's that, I think in any sphere, because I've seen this in comics, I've seen this in science fiction, I've seen it, and of course in video games, it's like this Snow White syndrome. You've got the Wicked Queen, and she's, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them? I was like, oh, you, your majesty, you, because it's resources. It's rare, therefore it has value. And then all of a sudden one day, it's mirror, mirror on the wall. Snow White is the fairest, and then it's instant hag, like must here, and then it is. I mean, it's such a glorious metaphor. Here, my pretty, have the apple, and that we're seeing this over and over and over and over again, but. When we go to discussions of welcoming women into games and how do we make games more welcome, we always focus on the behavior of the dudes. And have you had that same reaction of, no, if you want to talk about what keeps women out of things, I've had that reaction of, you don't summarize sum up the guys first. I sum up the other women in the room, and it's this instinctual thing. Is she going to be a problem? Is she going to be a problem? When I mark my targets, those are my high value targets. If we're going to gamify this, those are the ones I want to keep my eye on because they're the one with the rocket launcher. And so the guys might be little, or they have the little pistols. They're like the grunts, but the freaking hunters are those other women. Is it just me, and am I paranoid, or have you sort of had similar experiences?
No, I think that's totally legitimate. I guess recently it's become something more like how does she view her video games? Is it going to be safe to joke about this, or is it going to be offensive? So mine's become more so like, I feel like I need to watch myself. I need to test out where she stands, how she views the game before I make light of a situation.
I see.
That's what it's become for me. And that's not right. I shouldn't have to be afraid to make a joke or something like that, or to talk about how much I like a male character or whatever. And so, yeah, I think there's definitely things go through my head when I meet another girl who likes video games. I kind of in the back of my head think, does she find this problematic? Which is sad. I shouldn't think that, but I do, because I've met a lot of women and men online as well who just like one of my friends. I used to be really good friends with him, and I said something about how Mario isn't sexist, and he just blew up at me just like that and just stopped talking to me cold turkey. This guy that I'd been talking to for 2 years, and I just thought, that's kind of scary. So, yeah, I definitely think about things like that when I meet other women, especially in video games.
It always surprises me how heated discussions of video games get. And I think I come from it from the same perspective you do, that this is just a game and we have those extended dialogues with the games. We never quite turn the game off in our brains. It's still running as a background track. Like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if so-and-so did this and so-and-so did this? And so it sounds like you have a similar thing, that I'll be in a conversation. I think it's a really great conversation, and you'll express an opinion, and then it's almost like the sky darkens, and someone you're like,
what did I say?
It's too late to go back. It's just like the zombie infection has just hit.
Yeah. Get ready for a conversation you don't want to have.
And you don't know what to do. I mean, for me, it was the Tomb Raider reboot. The conversations went to shit so fast.
Oh, yeah.
And
I know.
Because, I mean, I saw that trailer. I was like, Lara Croft in therapy doing they animated her like she's, weepy, and the camera angles and all that stuff. And it's like that looked more like a Marilyn Manson video than what I was going for, but that's okay. But I came out of it and I'm just like, what? Like, she's a Byronic hero. It's not that I think therapy's bad. It's just Lara Croft in therapy was something I never wanted to see ever because it's not her. And you see the back stiffen. I completely disagree. And it's like, oh shit, we just went from a literary discussion of character trope to
Yes.
I am sharing a piece of myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
at that point, it's like you have to proceed with caution because you can highly personally offend this person even though you're not intending it at all because they want to see elements of themselves within the character to the point where they get offensive over things. So, yeah it's like automatically shuts down conversation with me. I'd rather not get involved if I know it's going to turn out to be, bad.
Yeah, well, it doesn't go bad because then all the gender programming kicks in and you do all those things that women aren't supposed to do. Oh, really? Oh, okay, what do you think? How do you feel? Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's funny. All of a sudden I become, thanks, Mr. J. And
yeah, exactly.
I think that's part of the appeal of Harley Quinn is we all have those moments where you can feel you doing it, like, sure, Puddin'. And you're doing it because you have to, right? But
you just want to get out of it. So you take the higher ground and you're like, wow, really? Yeah. That's great. Yeah. So, yeah, sometimes it's just easier to do that, I think.
Yeah, and that's where, again, it's that survival tactic, but then we have all these pressures on us because then the lean in thing kicks in. No, I'm not supposed to do that. I'm supposed to express myself, and I'm supposed to stand my ground. And it's like we're constantly caught between having to constantly prove ourselves because there's this perception of outsider status that doesn't exist. You've been gaming since you were 7. I've been gaming since I was 3, But then there's this idea that, sometimes I just don't need to have the last word, but then you're a gender traitor.
Yeah.
These days, And how do you're... Part of the reason I wanted to interview you is you're like the polar opposite of me,
Really?
Oh.
But we seem like so similar.
No, you're Harley, I'm Ivy.
Okay. I can do that.
Yeah, you are way more that. I'm, I'm more that rage behind the pout. And that is just me. And I mean... that character was one of the characters that helped me go, you know what, this isn't a bad thing. It's just you. And there are lots of types of people in this world. And so when I saw your stuff, I'm like, she is girly. And, and that's amazing because it's like, I'm the chick with the armor and the sword and you can be the cute little wizard. And that's cool. Or, but... it's like we assign values to that. And so I sort of wanted to talk to you about that whole, not gender in the way it's traditionally put of objectification and all this stuff and normatives. And I want to talk to you about femininity and what that means to you because you do inhabit it so much more effectively than I do.
Well, thank you. I would say that up until about senior year of high school, I was like borderline tomboy almost. I didn't even like hang out with any other guys that weren't my brother and his friends because I was so stinking shy with guys, but like my interests, I didn't like any particular Disney princess movies or anything like that. I didn't have I really didn't like wearing dresses. I love wearing dresses now. So for me, it's something that I've grown into, femininity. In middle school, I like wore Spider-Man t-shirts all the time and cargo pants. And I didn't even wear makeup until college. Like that's, so for me, I guess I've become more and more feminine, or I've liked those things more, becoming more girly or whatnot. I started liking the Disney princesses with freshman year of college. It's like, oh yeah, I should take them at your dorm room kind of cute. So it's something that's evolved with me, and I think that that's kind of cool because but I've still retained like, oh yeah, I still love Batman and Spider-Man, and I can talk about those things, and I still like. I mean, for the most part, people do consider video games a guy's hobby. People consider being argumentative a guy's trait. So I've still got some things where I've retained. I haven't gone full. Oh my gosh, yeah, just frilly dresses all the time, flowers in my hair. I like that sort of stuff, but I've not lost any sort of aspect of my childhood growing up. So I think it helped me be really well-rounded. And now you see that there's something. Femininity has become something that is oppressive somehow. So the color pink has become like a trigger color. Makeup, I don't know when that happened, really. When femininity started to become something that is wrong, or that female characters should not be portrayed in a feminine way, or I don't know. I don't know when that started, really. But of course, I see it more often now than I've ever have.
You parody in your movie review videos some of those sort of superficial tendencies of women in the media. I mean, that just added a massive extra piece to that character. Because one of the funniest lines I think you've done is in your Mad Max review, which they would not have that hydration in the desert. Okay? And
Yes.
it was your choice of word that it was so ultra modern in this, diesel punk post-apocalyptic thing, but that is the way people talk. And I think that, that's that toxic femininity thing that we don't talk about enough, but you parody it so precisely.
Yeah.
And
there's two YouTubers that I watched to more so help me with the vocabulary and the mannerisms. And they're 100% genuine too. And I think that toxic femininity thing, that's the term for it, right? That's what people don't like. Like the princess pillows everywhere, and I want to be a spoiled brat. I want to carry my Louis Vuitton bags and my 10-inch gator heels and stuff. I don't even know what I call that. That's just really flashy.
Well, it's stupid, though, isn't it? Like, you just spent $10,000 on a bag. You're an idiot, and thank you for letting me know that.
I know, but there are some people that idolize that, right? There are some teen girls that are obsessed with that. The hashtag, yes, queen, slay, $20 million, OMG, I'm crying, your hair is so... I don't even know if that, I would consider that feminine. It's weird. It's so egotistical. That's my biggest problem with it, is everything revolves around me. Let me do a haul of all my expensive designer bags and shoes I just got. Why? Why is this something to be proud of? I have like one purse and it's like 5 years old.
Well, it's that thing you identified of don't let anyone ever don't pay for your own things. Like that's, I think what it is you've got money to burn and it's usually somebody else's money is I think that sort of status thing. But when you construct those characters, because that was another thing about you that I noticed, is your satire is so cutting to the point that I'm not sure people recognize it's satire sometimes.
Oh no, for that Mad Max review, every time I got a thumbs down, people are like, oh, you seem like you could be a smart girl, but the way you talk is really annoying. I just thought, are you serious? Do you think I'm real? And then I remembered, oh wait, the people I based this on were real. I have to remind myself there are really people like this out there. And for them not to be able to tell I was playing a character, it's hilarious to me and kind of flattering because I did a good performance, well, obviously. But it says something really bad about that these people even exist. It's just,
But there were people who thought that Stephen Colbert was really like that too.
Oh yeah.
That's the difficulty with satire. And I think that what you do, there's an element of satire in I think everything you do. Even when you're, playing straight to camera, when you're doing you're talking about an issue, when you're breaking character, for lack of a better term. I think there's an edge that I liked about you immediately. You know, you have this whole girly girl thing, but then it's like shank, and I love that. I'm like, okay, that to me is a massive mark of intelligence. But
Thank you.
have you found it generally well received? Because that's that whole women in comedy thing that becomes very, very contentious.
Right, right. I think for me, my approaches have been, I'm very much aware and always conscious of my online appearance, because what you put online can be saved as and shown to whoever in the future. So I'm very aware. I'm always thinking about how I come off. Not so much because I want to be a good example or whatnot, but I have gotten very, very just like life-changing letters from people that have said the importance I was in their life, or just talking to them online, or that to me has been my biggest motivation to just always kind of keep it light. Even when I am talking about something serious, I don't want to polarize people in a way that makes them not want to have anything to do with me, or I have the potential of driving someone away who I could have made a difference for. So I think that's probably the biggest motivation behind the edge I put on my things. I do want to express myself in a way that is honest, but I also want to do it in a way that isn't going to be really, really hurtful. So I think as far as my comedy goes, because I'm always trying to just keep it nice, it's really unoffensive, I would say, is the stuff I do. I'm sure there's someone out there who's like, oh yeah, something you did is offensive, but yeah, I just try and keep it nice, which is why I think people maybe give things I say a pass sometimes when they're a little snarky. But yeah, I've not had any bad issues with people telling me anything about they didn't like any of my content.
That's a real skill. It's a real skill to be able to go nice. I mean, I don't think people recognize that is more difficult than scally-faced, hard-hitting intellectual criticism.
Yeah.
Like it's like I said, you know, scally bro duck face. Like, you know, we're back there again. It's this perception of substance, and I know there's a resistance to it because it's the whole smile more thing you get with women, and I personally hate that. I personally hate people smile. It's like, give me a motivation, but that's just me. And acting improv training, like, it's just not that. I think it's, you know, it's offensive to me because a person doesn't know what they're doing, not for any other reason. But it is an issue, and so you constantly have to either choose to embrace a stereotype and use it, or fight against it. And at what point do you go, and it sounds like you had a moment like this, at what point do you just go, this is just me, and fuck the politics?
Oh man, I have a couple times, not in a video, but in a podcast, I've said a couple things. I've called people crazy, which I throw around the term crazy a lot in my personal life, like, that's crazy, she sounds crazy, that guy's crazy. I say it in a very literal manner or whatnot, but when my Evernote is like 500 something video ideas I want to do. I just sit down and jot something about, like, oh man, I'm sick of hearing about how people are reading into video games. I'm going this long rant about it, and then I'll read over it and I'll think, it's not worth it.
I do that
Well,
too.
whatever. Yeah, it's not worth it because people already know how I feel. I can express my frustration about something in 150 characters on Twitter. It can be retweeted, favorited, replied to. People know where I stand. I don't think I need to make a hate-filled video that's going to be out there that isn't a moment of passion or whatnot. So I've not yet had a moment where I thought something is this. I guess I made a video about the whole Kimono Wednesday thing, but even then, I think I toned back my disgust for man, who goes to a museum, like a non-profit museum, that is trying to educate the public, and then it just So I felt like that's an example of when I said, enough's enough. I'm going to say something about this. But even then, I toned it down because I don't want to drive anyone away. Because I always feel like maybe someone will hear it and snap out of it if someone says it in a nice way. That kind of goes through my head.
Is that toning it down, or is that just fighting smart instead of hard?
I like your version of that better. Let's go with that.
I had to add some Kite Tales into my life because I was, it's that giant hammer. Bonk, okay, barbarian class solution to everything. Yeah. And I realized after a while that, I do have a softer side, and I wasn't really used to showing it because I was a rough and tumble kid that thought they were Liana and not Chitara. And then I cosplayed Chitara, and I'm like, oh, there's another side to this. And,
oh, did you?
Yeah, I mean, part of my cosplay thing is going into that ultra feminine space because I do not consider myself good at it at all. I lock up.
That's cool that you do that, though.
Well, when it comes to hair and shoes and, I can talk about romantic, literary, and artistic tradition in video games till the cows come home. But ask me to say what shoes go with what dress. I am lost. Does it have Wonder Woman on it? That's all I'm wearing a shirt with Einstein as the galaxy right now, for God's sakes. And
that's cool, though.
So, stepping into that feminine space that I'm not comfortable with was a great learning experience for me. And
that's cool.
To hear that you came to it later as well is interesting. And it's probably not completely conscious when you do it, that whole long hair versus short hair and, the deliberate use of glasses in your movie review character. Like, I know what that is. And I'm like, I laughed at that because, when I started doing this part, people are like, wear glasses, you look smarter. It's like, great, my eyes can stop dying from contact lenses now. Hallelujah. I'll take it. But this idea of looking smarter just blows me away, and the idea that smart and nice don't intersect ever. But to me, I think you're a walking, talking embodiment of the fact that the intersection point of smart and nice is wisdom. And I think you sort of have that in spades. And is that something it sounds like you've cultivated it to an extent, but is that part natural, or was that learned as well?
Oh, well, first, thank you for the very kind words. It's just very, very nice. I'm very honored to hear that. I definitely think it has been cultivated, yes. More recently, over the years, I've always been the nice, funny girl, I guess. In school and whatnot, growing up, I've always been the nice person. I've always been very empathetic. So I'll say something to someone that may be mean, and then I'll immediately regret it. This happens so much for like online relationships, but in person, if I'm at work and my mom calls me and says, what are you doing? What did you eat for lunch? And I'll say, Mom, I have to go. I can't talk on the phone. I hang up. I immediately feel bad. I'm like, she just wanted to know what I was eating for lunch. Why do I have to be such a bad daughter? And it's like that thing. You feel bad for it. And I think that really has shaped the way I interact online. I don't want to feel anything. I don't want to say something that makes someone feel bad. Not so much because it'll make me feel bad, but it's just not nice. And I don't want to be known as that person. I will say things that are snarky or sarcastic, but I always wonder, I'm like, is this too sarcastic?
No.
But
no, I think you've really got the right level. Before I embarrass myself kissing your ass for another 15 minutes, I'm going to wrap. We've been talking with Kite Tales gaming enthusiast and YouTuber. Obviously, I'm a fan. I think you guys should be. So I hope you found this enlightening, and thanks very much for joining us. Kite, do you have any last words to say? Any last words? We're going to execute.
I know, wow.
Bowser's going to come and teeth you, and then I'm going to have to grow a mustache and put on overall. This just got real. Anything you want to close with?
No, thanks so much for the conversation. This has been great. It's been great talking about why we love games, what they mean to us. This is the kind of conversation I love. This is the kind of thing I want to see in video games. Is this kind of camaraderie? It's just two people grew up playing games, getting together, talking about things, just shooting the breeze. And we may be different, but this to snap it on like this. This is the first time I've ever talked to you, and we're this comfortable, in person, but. We're this comfortable talking to each other, and it's because of our mutual shared backgrounds and kind of geeky interests. That's great. I think that's really inspiring about video games. It's just the ability to turn it on like that and just feel at home. So thanks for letting me do this.
I think it's also our tendency to both drop into voices.
I did.
Let's just do voices. Let's just blooper reel. Like more, Bullwinkle. Hi, Kite Tales, how are you?
Oh, gee, Rocky. Oh, Bullwinkle. Wow, Rocky's the squirrel.
Rocky just had a gender identity shift. Gee, nothing up my sleeve. Presto. Yeah, Rocky. Yeah, I always saw Rocky as a girl. I don't know why.
Rocky is a girl, isn't she? The squirrel?
Okay, not just me.
That sounded like it, kind of.
Yeah.
That kind of sounded like Rocky right there.
Yeah.
Mom, this again, Bullwinkle. Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
It's that Harley moment. I think you're right. I think Rocky's a girl.
I think so too. We're gonna have to double check that.
I think Rocky's supposed to be a boy, but it doesn't matter. Death of the author. Now we can say anything we want. Just
awesome, man.
Yeah. Are you just a natural mimic, or did you?
Oh, I was in drama for 4
okay.
years. And then I was in an improv group. So, yeah, I'm always, it's fun to drop into voices too, because I think it describes the moment better. Like if you're frustrated about something, you drop into a voice. If you're talking about someone that said something to you, you drop into a voice that you think they have or that sums up.
I get in trouble for that.
Do you really?
I get in trouble for that on my YouTube channel. I just naturally do characters. Because I think it's more entertaining, and I've realized I have different idiot voices for but people have actually complained that I'm mocking people who have that perspective by doing a voice, and it's like, well, I am, but I'm doing it in a fun sort of loving way.
Exactly, you're giving them a personality that they didn't previously have. Yeah, that's great.
But I mean, there's this sort of idiot who is sort of loud and you feel like is voting for Donald Trump.
And then you kind of got that, he's a very sneering idiot. He looks down their nose at everybody, and they probably have a perfect nose because they've had it operated on.
There are different kinds of idiots, and I think that every single one of them should have their day.
I do too. I have my own voices. Let's see. People that just sent to me, I'm like, it kind of sounds like Cartman, but like, oh, Kite Tales, that's really stupid what you did. That's when people disagree with me. That's the voice I give them.
I
like,
do that too.
Oh, here comes Kite Tales. She thinks she's so nice. I'm like, yeah, that's probably how you sound, buddy.
Yeah, I did a Cartman voice once in a video, and I didn't realize I was doing it. And people points to the Cartman impression, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, that voice. Got it. Yeah, but yeah, it's funny. It's just, I think some people are so afraid of being distinct that they're afraid of that. But yeah, I mean, one of the things and this is probably where you get it from too, is character voice in drama, and that's super important, especially with Amiibo Tales, and you're both doing multiple voices at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. Do you ever mess up and do the wrong voice? And you're like, oh shoot.
I have to listen to the character before I do it, because sometimes I'll not do it correctly, or I will like kind of bleed them in together and be like, well, she wouldn't say it like this, so I have to go back and listen to how she would say it. Yeah, it can be hard to keep track of all the different ones.
It is, especially when you have a type. You know, when you're doing a certain type of voice, and with Nintendo characters, I mean, yeah, you can do a breathier Zelda than Peach, but they're similar types.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
Zelda's kind of Peach on heroin. You know, it's very floaty and mystical, but it's still it's the same pitch, and it's still up here, as opposed to down here.
Like the Wii Fit Trainer, my female Patrick Warburton, as people called it.
Female Patrick Warburton?
Hey guys, it's me.
Oh yeah.
Female Patrick Warburton.
That's
Oh man, I don't know. Like, I don't even know how I came up with that. I watched The Emperor's New Groove, and I've always loved Krunk. Krunk's great. I love him. It's like, just do female Krunk. So yeah, it's great though. It's good practice for. I imagine it makes your vocal cords stronger too. So